Hello, I'm Ryan Hill, and this is the Special Education Interviews. For the interviews, I selected to speak to an administrator, our assistant principal, Mr. Jackson. I also spoke to Mr. E, the head of special education department, and also a special education teacher, and a paraprofessional, Mrs. Welch. In discussing the child fighting procedures with the special education teacher, the administration, and the paraprofessionals, they describe the same procedure throughout. Most likely, the child is going to be identified before they get to the high school level, mainly in the preschool and intermediate grade levels. But if there is a student that is recommended, then it goes through a process in which there's an evaluation and make sure that the student qualifies for the special education programs. Uh, the paras in the classroom, they make sure they keep an eye out for any other students that might qualify, even though it's fairly rare. There are many challenges in education, but there are many different challenges in special education as well. The special education teacher described one of the major challenges is really convincing that the students have the ability to work and learn and be successful. Many times the parents and other people have intervened and have helped the student so much that the student has really become dependent on that help and has learned some helplessness. So that's one of the major challenges. According to the paras, trying to understand the accommodations and needs of each special education student can be a challenge. Also, how to use those modifications and accommodations successfully with each student. Administration, mainly, discipline is the most challenging piece. With many of the IEPs, there are limitations on what an administration can do punishment-wise. With a max 10 days of suspensions in the school year, where there's hearings and alternative placement for students if, there is suspensions or expulsions. But also making sure that, we are following the letter of the law. So that's a main challenge. With the challenges come, some really major rewards as well, though. All three of them really emphasize the growth and the progress and the maturation of the student as one of those biggest rewards. Also, seeing the aha moments, when concepts become clear and understanding occurs, those are when the biggest rewards for each one of the special education teacher, the administration, and the paras when the student starts succeeding. That's the best feeling. In asking some advice on supervision of SPED staff, it really comes down to finding the right people and having the right people in the right spot who can do the job effectively. But also, it comes down to communication and understanding that, kind of the procedures of the SPED teachers overseeing the paras and assuring that, teachers are following the legally binding IEPs and student accommodations. But it really comes down to building relationships no matter what level you're at. Within the process, admin to special education teachers, admin to paras, special eds to paras, special ed to admin, and paras to admin, and to students, and then to parents as well. It all comes down to building those relationships and having effective communication chains. and working with parents, all three expressed communication is key. Communicating the successes as well as the failures, but within that also the progress and the operations. Expressing all these within that, but also making sure that the chain of command is being followed both ways, whether communication to the teacher or identifying any other issues. Working with teachers is a major aspect in assuring that IEPs and accommodations are being met. So special education teachers connect with the teachers at the beginning of each year and let them know who will be SPED students in their classes, and also the accommodations, including the IEP. Through the administrations, many methods are to make sure that the teachers are meeting the needs of SPED students. If there are any issues, help will be provided to address those issues while keeping in mind the needs of the students. Parents will meet with the teachers at the beginning of the year and let them know that they'll be in their classrooms and kind of identify what their role is. This generally helps with the process and builds relationships. Many of our paras, especially Mrs. Welch, have been here for a number of years and has done a great job, working with the teachers, and they kind of understand each other's processes. When asking for advice, they gave me some good ones. The main theme is make sure we're building those relationships. Also, don't forget where you came from. Understand the experiences that you got in the classroom and the struggles in there, and make sure that you maintain that growth in the administration process as well. But my admin, my assistant principal gave me some great advice, understanding that no real admin classes can totally prepare you for all situations that we will face. But make sure that you understand the board adopted handbook and build those positive relationships. Don't take things personally, and understand that criticism really comes from everywhere. So, some great advice, and that's some advice that we got going into education period. It's really a tough profession to prepare for, and it's experience is key. In discussing the different roles everybody has in the special education processes, the main goal and main role and focus is on meeting the needs of the students. The special education teacher is making sure that they're meeting those needs, but also supervising paras in the school and really addressing any parent concerns and helping the day in, day out classroom teacher, help meet the needs of the students. The administration is really depends on the interlocal and SPED staff. We have 4 in the building, and he couldn't say enough about how great of a job they do with communicating any concerns to them, and really working to figure things out. I received some great advice on characteristics of aspiring administration. The special education teacher, Mr. E, specified that become knowledgeable about the programs and the special educational law and the processes used at the school, and that how much that would benefit any aspiring administration. Mr. Jackson specified don't really seek out candidates based solely on special education interests. Prospective administration must have strong personal skills, be able to build positive relationships with staff, students, and other stakeholders, and realize that there are many pieces to the puzzle out there in order to be successful. And the parents get to know your staff and what they do on a day in, day out basis. Man, I learned a lot from these three individuals. They really gave me different viewpoints and experiences and challenges of special education. And even though those might vary depending on who is involved, understanding that the procedures and the reward of the student overcoming and finding success all stay the same. So hopefully when I am putting into a leadership position, I go and go through their advice of building relationships through communication, and make sure that that communication with all key stakeholders is really the number one priority. Well, thanks for watching my SPED interviews, and I can't thank Mr. Jackson, Mr. E, and Ms. Welch enough for setting aside some time to speak to me and to really lead me forward in understanding and developing a deeper understanding of the special education processes. Thanks. See you around.